Morning guys, it is New Year's Day now and I have been really lazy last few weeks. First thing, Happy New Year to all of you. And since I've been off work, I haven't done anything in the garden really, honestly. I've been so lazy. We've butchered all those hens, obviously, but other than that and lots of cooking and eating, I've done nothing. I've done loads and loads of sitting and resting and bathing in the bath and things like that, and not a lot else. Lots of Netflix watching. So I've kind of fallen into a bit of I wouldn't go so far as to call it a rut, because I've really needed it and appreciated it, and I wouldn't change a thing, and I'm really happy with how I've spent my time. But I'm a creature of habit, and it's very easy for me to allow this to become a habit and just not doing anything. So today I'm going to go and do some coastal foraging, because what better way to get me out and about than to go out foraging. So it's the middle of winter, it's New Year's Day, as I've said, 1st of January, and winter's a great time to go coastal foraging. So that's our plan for today. Yesterday we had a lovely family day actually. We went out for lunch, we went ice skating, collected some wood from my father-in-law, and didn't do a lot else. So I'll get you caught up with what we did yesterday, and then we will be going to the coast to do a bit of coastal foraging. I think if I find anything exciting, if I find some sort of actual species I want to do a video on, I'll do those separately. But either way, I'll bring you along for the general trip. I'm definitely going to fall over. Hi guys, so it's New Year's Eve. We've just been, we went out as a family actually, went ice skating. We took Granny, we went out to go ice skating, and then we had lunch. And we've just come back to drop Granny back, and we're going to be picking up some wood for our wood burning stove from my father-in-law's near infinite wood store. Look at this. I've shown you this before, I think, on another video. He's also got loads and loads of chickens that he keeps separate. Not necessarily these guys, but a lot of them he keeps separate for breeding. And look at those, I think they're called sea brights. I just think they're the most gorgeous bird. Some of you will know more than me. I'm not an expert on breeds. Look at those little guys. Yeah, so we're just going to bag some wood up and then get home. We'll have done all that and be home by about 2 o'clock, I think, which is nice. So here we are, we've come out far enough from the car that we're almost alone. There's a few people a little bit further back up the beach. A couple walking their dogs there, but from here on that way, it's just us. Low tide's in about 25 minutes. I'd like to have got here a little bit earlier. That's when you want to get here really, because so much of what we're after is in the intertidal zones in a lot of places. Not so much here, but it's just a wonderful place to be. So it's January, and since the dawn of civilization, if I can use such a grandiose term, we as a species have been drawn to the coast. That's why so many early towns and settlements were around the coast, and so many of our towns are called names that end in the word mouth, like near me Weymouth or Bournemouth, where the rivers Wey and Bore would meet the sea. And here we are at the mouth of the river or stream Eep. There's just so much here. Like I say, bearing in mind that it's January, you can see why we'd have been drawn to places like this. You've got the abundance of the sea and the fish and seabirds and wildlife that pertains to, but also, you know, behind me we've got a a freshwater spring somewhere coming out of the cliff face behind me, running down here, and the abundance of the plants that are around us. I keep mentioning that it's January, and I think that's so important because it can be a fairly barren time for foraging, but coastal foraging, that changes. You know, so many of the mollusks and bivalves, things I've done videos on before, mussels, now's the great time to be foraging them. And behind me here you can see some gorse. These gorse flowers are edible. They go really nicely on salads. But that's not why we're here today. We're here for, well, I've not been here before, so I'm just here to have a look around and see what there is. But you know, around me there's various mints on the ground, horsetail, lots of things with traditional uses. But what I really want to do is head out over there, where I'm hoping we're going to get away from this shingle beach and we're going to find some different seaweeds. But before we do, I just wanted to mention one last thing, talking about why we would have been drawn to places like this. Just as I look around, I can't help but notice the abundance of just things that we would have found useful. This greeny grey clay would have been used as a building material to make pots with, I'm quite sure, with a little bit of processing. I don't know what's involved, but that'll make a nice project for me to have a play with. And I may well harvest some of this on the way back to the car and see if we can't make something usable out of it at a later date. Quick note on seaweeds as I battle the roaring shoreline. You're going to find seaweeds whenever you're out on the coast, but you don't really want to be foraging things that aren't attached. You want them to be alive and healthy. We would generally leave things like this, but it's a good opportunity for me to just say, if you are harvesting things like this, you definitely don't want to detach them from the rack. A lot of these are perennial plants, and detaching them from the rock or whatever it is they've been attached to is the equivalent of unearthing or digging up a perennial plant that you might find in the wild. It's difficult on a day like today when it's so windy and you're here on your own. Really difficult not to just be in awe of the power of the ocean. So we've got, this is basically a rock slide that's come down from behind us here, and all of these cliffs are at danger of collapsing, and periodically you'll see this isn't particularly fresh. Hasn't happened in the last few days, but it's also not very old. But there's not a tremendous amount here in this particular location that's gonna make the dinner table tonight, but that's okay. It was well worth the trip anyway. I feel invigorated to have come back out and spent this time here. So I'm gonna collect up some of this clay and then head back to the car. So I've just got back in the car, and despite the wind and the time of year, it's really mild out there. It's around 15 degrees C, so really mild. I'm really warm. So it wasn't the most productive forage for the table, but we're certainly not going home empty-handed. I picked up a load of cuttlefish bones as well, which we'll give to the chickens, and obviously we've got the clay, and I also picked up a nice big piece of driftwood that I'm going to make something out of, maybe a soap dish. I'll talk to you about that a bit later, why that's the case. The most important thing, the thing I've got out of it more than anything else, is I just feel invigorated and ready to go again. And I'm just so glad. I'm so glad I got out of the house and came and did some walking and re-engaged myself with all the things that I normally do. So yeah, super happy. January the 1st set me up nicely for the new year. Really happy. Right, I'm gonna head home, catch up with you guys when I get there. So I've just got back to the house, and these are the cuttlefish bones, if you're not familiar with them. You might have seen them washed up on the beach before. You can buy them in pet shops for canaries and things, but we'll give them to our chickens. I'm not sure whether or not they'll enjoy them, but we can give it a go. They'll be a really good calcium supplement, so we'll throw them in, see how they go down. I've also got my bag of clay here and this nice big piece of driftwood. So I've got a few projects to be getting on with, and I'll keep you updated with all of those as they go on. I won't be able to do many of them today, I don't think, because I don't know if you can tell, but it's actually dusk now. So it's time for me to go in and start cooking dinner. Cooking Chinese tonight for the family as a request. So that's going to pretty much wrap me up, I think. The only other thing I haven't mentioned, I don't think, is those of you who may be interested in my New Year's Eve routine. Well, it's no different to any other night, I'm afraid. I went to bed around 8 o'clock last night, and I was certainly asleep by midnight. So yeah, we don't really worry too much about it here. So I think that's going to wrap this video up. Thanks ever so much for watching. Thanks for coming along with me today down to the coast, and for following me in general. I really, really appreciate it. Have a great new year, everyone. I'm going to do a retrospective looking back on 2021 video in the next few days. I've got lots of plans actually for the next couple of days, so stay tuned. But until then, I'll see you guys really soon. Thanks for watching. Cheers.